There are a group of parents who represent over 300 parents, 600 people, 300 parents. This group of parents would like to present to Rabbi Margaretten a plaque of thanks. Rabotai, ladies and gentlemen, unfortunately, as this night's going to come to a close, our job is still very far from over. I want to close by explaining that I have nieces and nephews, that if it was not for organizations like this, they would not have beautiful children running around their homes. Most people know that on my day-to-day, things can get very, very heavy. Last week, I had one of the hardest days I've had all year. It was 2 suicide phone calls and a runaway and it was an overdose. It was everything in one day. And there was one kid that we could not find. We were not sure if it was going to be okay. It was a girl, 14-year-old girl. Baruch Hashem, at the last minute, they found her. They were able to resuscitate her. Baruch Hashem, everything went well. But as I was driving home, it just hit as just too much. I was on the phone with the police. I was on the phone with this one, that one. It was just, and I finally hung up and I said, please just don't let my phone ring again. And I started crying. And I pulled into my driveway and I'm just there crying. And sometimes I have that day that I just have to sit in my driveway and give it a few minutes before I go home and have to smile and be a father. And as I'm sitting there crying, looking up and saying, Rabboni Shalom, I can't do that again. I can't do that one again. And I was literally waiting there for a response. And through my tears and sobbing, there was this little knock on the window. And I look over to my left, and there is the most beautiful little angelic face of my daughter Eliana. And I lowered the window, and she looked at me, and she said, Papa? I said, yeah. She goes, Mommy said you had a very hard day. I said, I did. And she reached in the window, and she gave me a hug, and everything was fine. If I would have came home that night to an empty home, to not be able to be supported by that unadulterated, beautiful, innocent love, I would not have been able to do the next day or the day after. To give families back what it is that so many of them have lost, that ability to be called a family, that ability to be the mountains, to be the haharim to these children's eyes. We preach and promise all day to all of us in all of our communities that the whole point of living, the whole point of our lives are to give over legacy. That all that what we work for is to further those after us. That the tenacity and chutzpah it took for people to make it through the Holocaust, for us to enjoy the freedoms we have now, was for us. And all the fight that we have is for them. But Rabotai, what happens when there's no them? Where do they go from there? Tonight you answered. Tonight you said that no longer will a husband come home to a wife in tears. No longer will people have to sit in empty homes hoping and praying for miracles. The miracle is here. It's in every single one of you. To all the senators, to their teams, to all those that made tonight possible, but most of all to all of you that have given your heart and soul on those phones today to raise this awareness, to raise that money, and to raise this bill. It is impossible to say how deep of an effect you've had on humanity. But all we know is that whatever fruits come from this are going to last for generations and generations to come. Thank you all so much for coming. Thank you all so much for being a part of this.